happy Manga Monday! Today is going to be a bit of a negative video in the way that, the title may suggest. We're talking about series complete. I put quotes in it because some of these feel very not complete, and we'll get to that. But complete series nonetheless that just disappointed me. And I want to distinguish this from series that I just didn't like, because there is a difference, okay? I'm not saying I dislike these series. I'm not saying I unhauled them, because I didn't. I still have them on my shelves. Elements of them, usually the conclusion of them, are what left me feeling a bit disappointed. Obviously, they all have beautiful covers as well, and as a self-proclaimed cover buyer to the max, I obviously bought these all because of their covers, and sadly, the whole package just wasn't quite up to snuff. So yeah, I just wanted to make it clear I don't dislike these series first and foremost. And another thing is, a lot of these series that I will cover are on the shorter side, and you can tell that it wasn't the mangaka's true vision to end the series there. Whether they had to end it because of health reasons or because their editor, whatever, said, we're not going to keep publishing this work, and they were canceled before they could actually tell the whole story that they wanted. Those play a huge role into why I was disappointed in these series. And so, yeah, I do acknowledge this. I'm not, saying anything negative about the mangaka and even about the series as a whole in that regard. However, doesn't mean it didn't disappoint my little heart, okay? So yeah, it was a long intro just to say a few things, but anyway, let's get to the first beautiful cover that sadly disappointed me. And I think I'll go in order of pretty unoffensive to the ones that disappointed me kind of the most. So first up, we have a romance title, and it just didn't quite hit the mark, but it's not bad. And that is Star-Crossed. So again, this is a short series. It is complete at 4 volumes. So whether this was the desired length of the series for the mangaka, I don't really look into those things. There's ones that have a lot of plot lines and mysteries going on that I know for sure shouldn't have ended there. But for a romance, it's hard to know for sure whether they, just wanted a short, sweet, simple story, or they were commissioned for a short, sweet, simple story, and that's just what they delivered. So in this one, I think it has a fun little fantasy flair in it, which takes place between this idol and a idol fan. So Azusa is a huge idol otaku, you could call her, and she really loves Chika, an idol that is part of the group Prince for You, and she would do anything for him. And this leads her to running on stage and trying to save Chika's life. However, she fails, and they both end up quote unquote dead. However, God says that there's been a mix-up. They weren't supposed to die this soon, and gives them another chance, sends them back to the earthly realm, but there is a mix-up, and Azusa is now in Chika's body and vice versa. So there's a little body swapping going on. There's cute idols, there's fangirling. It's really cute and wholesome. I love the idea. I love that, just that little bit of fantasy element, the little body swap comedy of it all. However, this disappointed me because it feels rushed and almost a little fan servicey, should I say. So obviously short series can tend to feel rushed, so I'm not going to hold it too much against them. I'm just pointing it out. But what I really was disappointed in was the fan service nature of it. I understand in romance there's a lot of that feeling, there's a lot of wish fulfillment and things working out way more than they do in real life. I understand that. But for me personally, and I am a huge shipper, okay, don't get me wrong, like I will ship anybody and everybody, but they're just, I don't want to say they lacked chemistry, because I did like them together. I thought they were cute and sweet together. I just didn't feel the romance, I guess. I felt the fan energy and a very genuine friendship and such blossoming from this strange situation they're forced into. And I don't know if it's also influenced by the love triangle that is kind of shoehorned into here, which feels kind of jarring. It didn't have enough time, I feel like, to be a proper love triangle. And then there's just, like I said, the lack of chemistry. I feel like, if anything, they should have ended with a deeper appreciation of each other and a friendship. But I get that it is in the romance genre for a reason. People want their romance, and you know, that's fine. But to me, it wasn't the ending I would have liked to see. And so for that reason, this really cute series with their adorable art and covers, it disappointed me. All right, next up, we have one that definitely wasn't because it was cut too short, and one that is full of really good action and a fun, interesting, diverse set of characters, which I really enjoyed. But the ending, again, left me a bit disappointed, and that is Hell's Paradise. These covers, mwah, they are color pop sensations. I love them. They are a feast for the eyes. Probably a big element of why I would never get rid of this series, to be honest. I just love it too much. And the art inside is very enjoyable as well. The story is also very interesting and enjoyable. Do not get me wrong here, okay? These are disappointing series, not unlikable series to me. So we have a very interesting setup where we are following Gabi Maru here, and he is a vicious assassin, one of the best of his kind, you know, real standout. However, he has been betrayed by his ninja village and has ended up with a death sentence. But there is a way for him to earn back his freedom, and that is this proposal that the king, emperor, you know, sovereign leader of the land, has given to these prisoners, these death row prisoners that are all very violent, vicious, intense individuals. And that is for them to travel to this mystical hidden island and recover an elixir that will make the shogun immortal. Sorry, I just read on the back, he's a shogun. Okay. Not a king, not an emperor, not a whatever, shogun. So if they recover this elixir for the shogun, their death sentence will be revoked and they will be given back their freedom. However, failure is not an option here. It is come back alive with the elixir or don't come back at all. And to make sure of this, that they cannot escape, they are sent to the island with a executioner as their partner, essentially, which is putting these executioners in a very harrowing position as well, because we will find out that this secret hidden island is a very dangerous place to be. And I just love that. I love the relationship that forms between Gabi Maru and Sagiri, and she is the executioner that has been paired up with him. We meet other assassin, poisoners, brutal, vicious criminals, and their executioners. But yeah, I love me a good like survival type story. I love the action-packed nature of this series. And like I said, I think it has a really eclectic, fun group of characters. However, there's the disappointing bit. So not only did I feel like it kind of felt a bit, I don't know, like, I wouldn't say dragged for me. It just felt a bit muddying, a bit complicating things, and in that regard, it dragged a little for me towards the end portion of the series, but nothing egregious, okay? And then you get to the end, and I'm not gonna spoil anything. I think it's a solid ending, and then they tack on an extra chapter, and sadly, I just don't think it should exist, in my opinion, okay? Where it ends, it's very open-ended, but you see like the tiniest of glimpses of these characters. So you do glean a little bit of what is happening, what will happen for them. And it's all very, a very lovely, sentimental ending. And then they just give us this like more on the nose, more like everybody meets up with everybody anyway, forget what I just said 2 minutes ago type of thing. And I don't know, it just made me wish that we could just, I could just tear out those pages. Like, it sounds harsh, I know. But it just leaves me feeling disappointed. It leaves me wanting to have that, this is like a great series ender, this is great final chapter moment, and it just doesn't. It gives me too much, which takes away, in my opinion. Again, I think it's a really solid series. I think it's action-packed and a fun time, and bloody and gory, and sometimes gets emotional because of that, and I think that's all executed really well. I just think the mangaka went further than I would have cared to know. And some people will totally disagree. I've just always been a vague kind of bitch. I'm like, leave it open-ended, leave it vague. I love it. Love to see it. Still, it's another series I would recommend. If it interested you premise-wise, plot-wise, that it is a good series. I just was slightly disappointed by the choice of that final little chapter that they snuck in there. Okay, we've reached the short series. The series I personally feel like were cut short or were rushed a bit at the end, and as their nature as being short stories, they just tend to be that way. But a lot of short series I feel are super effective, and I'm not disappointed with the ending, so that's why I could still include them in this. And first up is Beauty and the Beast of Paradise Lost. I mean, that cover, I mean, Kaori Yuki's art never disappoints. Every single time the art is a hit for me. I love it. However, though I love the premise of this, I love a twisted take on the Beauty and the Beast, you know, fairy tale, which is personally one of my favorite Disney fairy tales, princess movies, so I have a vested interest in it, and I really like all the interesting fantasy elements that are put into this. But I will say I think it is a detriment as a whole because it adds so many interesting elements, plot points, fantasy, world building, that it's really hard to wrap that all up in 5 volumes. It just is. It really is. It might have been a little bit more solid to me if it had been even just like 8 volumes, 10 volumes, just really marinate in those plot points, the emotional beats. But instead it was just like bam, 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 moving on, we gotta move on. And in the beginning, it just doesn't feel like that. Okay, I was highly invested in this series. But yeah, I'll give you a quick summary, a little rundown, if you will. So a young Belle insists on going into the Forbidden Woods when her mother is spirited away by a beast known to kidnap beautiful women. Twisted by the loss of his wife, Belle's father keeps his daughter and her unusual violet hair locked away in an effort to protect her. Years later, news of this beast's reappearance coaxes Belle to go back to the woods where it all began. But her desperate search for the truth and her mother may be more perilous than she could ever imagine. So yeah, there's like ABUSE. Her father is very twisted and not a good person. So if that, you know, would be something you'd want to avoid, just keep that in mind. And also, there are characters that are very unkind to Belle. I do think that most of them warm up to her, and in that regard, it's just character development. But the father is kind of an excusable character in the story, we'll say. Where I love Maurice in the original fairy tale. So but anyway, it's a dark, twisted retelling, so it's fine. And so Belle eventually does meet Beast, but Beast is not the perpetrator of her mother's disappearance. We find out that there's this whole other witchy witch that's actually the one who cursed Beast, which I love that little tie-in, because obviously we don't want to make Beast like this evil kidnapper of beautiful women, and we want to know why he looks the way he does. Well, this witch is the culprit of all of it. There is also another Belle, some twisty stuff in that, which again, I didn't like the execution of. I found it very disappointing. It's all very rushed, and like the first 2 or 3 volumes are, again, slower. A slower build up. If they could have paid that build up off by slowly revealing these little things, these little nuggets of information, it's so much missed potential in my opinion that it just eats away at me. But again, art's beautiful, covers are beautiful, the characters are all very like quirky and interesting and dark and twisty, and I do like that a lot. The mysteries in this one are very interesting and riveting up until a certain point, and then it just kind of feels like, oh, we gotta finish, so mysteries be gone. Let me wrap it up for you. It just left a disappointing taste in my mouth for such a gorgeous and promising series. Yeah, again, I don't say don't pick it up because it has interesting elements, and I definitely don't think it's not worth checking out, but yeah, if only it could have just had a little bit more time. I feel like it could have been amazing. Next up, we have 2 series that I feel are very, very similar, and I am 99% sure both of them were given the axe because they are both laden with interesting mysteries, world building that just captivated me, fascinated me, and then we're giving no resolution, like none, like 0 resolution. So it's pretty much assured that the mangakas were just simply not given the time, not allowed to get those series to their desired conclusions. So first up, we have Soul Liquid Chambers. This colorful, quirky, crazy cover definitely caught my eye. Just this girl in a bikini with a freaking giant saw and the color explosion behind her. Her literally heel on a head here. I mean, everything captivated me, intrigued me. I needed to read this series. So this series is complete at 3 volumes. It is just, it is a crying shame. So yeah, this story takes place in a zombie-ridden 23rd century Earth, now known as Dead Man's Playground. And we are following a girl with prosthetic limbs and a tragic past who ends up paying for the services of a man whose job is essentially a tour guide of the post-apocalyptic wrecks and vestiges from before the zombies took over. So he like takes people into these kind of dangerous, seedy areas, and he is paid to guide them there and protect them. But this girl has way more in store for him than he was prepared for when he took the job, and he is thus launched into a whole underbelly of mystery, corruption, and the truth being kept from the public of what really caused the zombie apocalypse. And this girl herself has a whole hidden agenda and secrets connecting her back to what caused the zombie apocalypse, and a very interesting body swap of its own, more horrific body swap. I don't exactly know how to put that one into words, but yeah, it's definitely interesting. The world building is dark and gritty, outlandish and crazy, and the characters in it are so off the wall, violent and intense individuals with, like, you know, sci-fi-esque attributes. And yeah, it's so interesting. It's like a very sci-fi, like goth punk to a zombie apocalypse. If I had to like give you a vibe, I would equate it to like a Mad Max Fury Road style. Like, it's a free-for-all society and a guy being swept along on this girl's mission. It's got so many great elements, and it really could never be completed in 3 volumes. We are given mysteries right up to the end. It's not even tried to be tied up with a bow. It's very much left open-ended with a lot of unanswered questions and introduction of characters towards the end, which we see no payout for. And yeah, it's just so disappointing because it packs such a punch with these crazy kooky characters full of zombies and violence. And yeah, it's definitely explicit violence gore, so be aware on that. But yeah, if you couldn't tell by this cover, which I don't know how you couldn't, that's what you get yourself into. But yeah, it's just a fun ride, and it's so unfortunate it got cut short. One of my most disappointing reads, simply because I loved it so much, and that is Can't Stop Cursing You. Oh, goddamn, look at this cover. Like, as soon as I saw this cover and read a little bit, like, well, I mean, I didn't even have to read it. I think I just bought it. But like, it also has to do with mysteries and a detective that has supernatural elements to it. I mean, goddamn. Could you make a more tailor-made manga for me? Like, I just, and this art, the covers, so colorful and beautiful. The back covers are just as exquisite. And yeah, the stories themselves felt very episodic, but very much leading up to something, or at least it wanted to lead up to something. I have to laugh because otherwise I'll cry. But anyway, the synopsis is that this takes place at a seemingly regular high school until it wasn't. And a ringing cell phone and a splatter of blood mark the beginning of a deadly game. The rules. Contractor Mikia has 30 days to curse kill 30 people or meet a fate worse than death. On the other side, curse breaker Sayama must identify the killer without falling prey to one of Mikia's curse kills. Only time will tell who will emerge victorious. And of course, he's a super intelligent guy with this very unique ability to be able to ask the dead 3 questions. So when a curse kills somebody, he can then ask that body 3 questions. But there are limitations to his power. They can only give yes and no answers. So yeah, he has to think of like the best questions to ask to narrow down the suspects. And on the other hand, we have these curse killers who are emerging and who have been given this curse to these miserable, sick and twisted people who just want to see the world burn and have indescribable power over other people. So yeah, it's definitely twisting and allowing these twisted people to indiscriminately kill whoever they want. And yeah, just damn, that premise, it's so good. It's got that little fantasy supernatural element in it, and this amazing detective cat and mouse game that's played throughout pretty much each book. Like, I'd say each book kind of focuses on one curse killer, but again, we have an overarching enemy. There's somebody who is enabling these regular people to come in contact and make contracts with these curses and become curse killers. And it's just, oh, it's so damn frustrating. It's so damn frustrating. I cannot express how disappointing it was to reach the 5th and final volume, to finally get breadcrumbs of answers and then to be told, well, that's all, folks. Did you want to see our main guy go head to head with that guy? Too damn bad. Too damn bad. Because you ain't gonna get it. You ain't gonna get a satisfying ending. And the only plus I can say is because it's episodic in nature and we get resolutions to the individual mysteries of the curse killings, it is enjoyable in that regard. And I won't say don't pick it up because I love it so much. I want to recommend it so much. It's so good. And if it had been able to continue, and if it had been able to actually reach the conclusion that I believe the mangaka wanted for the story, I think it would have been a great series and I would have been shouting it from the rooftops. As it stands, it is only a good series with a disappointing ending. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, this one probably hurts the most for me. And that's why it's at the tail end of this video, because it's one of the most disappointing because of how much I loved it and how I felt like it had such potential. It had such potential that was cut short. Ugh. Yeah. My final entry into the beautiful but disappointing manga series is the one I feel is the most disappointing. And I don't think I can say it's because it was cut short. Maybe it was, and maybe the mangaka was able to skillfully try to assemble a cohesive narrative. But to me, it came across as very haphazard and directionless. Like it fell apart as the series went along, which made it just so disappointing when it had these great little moments and great first volume, in my opinion. So that last series is Versailles of the Dead. Again, we have murder, we have mayhem, we have blood and gore and a little fantasy and zombies, of course. It's my cup of tea. And I really love that it is an alternate take on history, putting zombies in a already very tumultuous era of France's history, which is the beginning of this story, Marie Antoinette being married off to King Louis the, goddamn, is that 16th? I think that's the 16th. God, that's a lot of King Louis. But yeah, if you know anything about history, this is a precursor to the inevitable French Revolution. And so I think it's really interesting to add this fantasy supernatural element and have zombies and zombie outbreaks as this interesting element that's coding an already large divide between the poor and the rich, and the king and his upper echelon and the lower status working people. And yeah, it doesn't take that away. There's still very much that element to it, which again, I like a alternate fictional take on a time period in history. I think it's really interesting. And to kick it all off, as Marie Antoinette is heading en route to marry King Louis, her carriage is attacked by these bloodthirsty zombies, and everybody except for her twin brother Albert dies, Marie included. So again, we're taking a interesting twist by adding in that not only are zombies real in this alternate history, but Marie Antoinette actually dies and that she is replaced by her twin brother, who just so happens to look so much like Marie that he can easily trick everybody. So it's got like such a nuance, like there's so much things going on. There's Albert should be trying to keep his identity hidden, and you know, that stress and the stress of the zombies and the tension and the, you know, political power movements and what have you. Like there's so much to work with. And yet in this, again, only 5 volumes, but I'd say even by volume 2 or 3, the plot had lost me. I had lost the plot. I don't know if I'm just stupid or nothing was quite written in a cohesive manner, because to me, it's the latter, but I will never deny that it could just be my stupidity or me completely missing something obvious to other people. So yeah, I love the elements of this story. I obviously love mystery, as I've said so many times in this video. I love zombies and action, and this leads very heavily into that action aspect. So instead of just being a political thriller, we have these great action moments. Where I think it's ruined is by Albert being just a demon or something. I don't want to give too much away. I just felt like that element wasn't needed. I feel like you had so much. Yeah, I like fantasy, I like supernatural elements, but it's gotta make sense. And to me, this aspect of this world where everything else seems so interesting and great and alluring. At first, when they introduced this aspect, I thought, this could work, they can make this work. It's not implemented right for me. And so I just feel it would have been better to not have had it at all, because it just ends up complicating things and making a mess of things, in my humble opinion. But again, if you really enjoyed this series or any of these series I talked about, I did not hate them. There are things I liked about them. I have this weird desire to reread it again, because I feel like maybe if I reread it again, knowing how certain things play out or knowing certain things, I will have more of an appreciation for it. And you never know, maybe I will. Or maybe it just really wasn't written that well. But either way, upon my first reading of it, I found myself very disappointed, and I am just so sad because I feel like this had such an interesting concept. I don't see enough alternate history stories, so I find that really fun, but yet it's so hard to get them right, I think. And this one, I think, bit off more than it could chew, unfortunately. But that was my list of beautiful, beautiful covered series. Like the covers to these series are drop dead gorgeous, like make you want to pick it up and read it for sure. And all have interesting premises. Can't find fault in any of that. But yeah, they just, in the end, sadly, they disappointed me. And though I will not be unhauling them anytime soon, I can't be like, oh my God, you have to read these are underrated, these are magnificent masterpieces. In my opinion, they're lacking a bit. It's disappointing for sure when a series just doesn't quite end the way you would like, whether that is intentional from the mangaka or completely out of their control. But yeah, let me know, drop it below, what are series that disappointed you? I love to hear it. Maybe there's some more I even forgot about, or ones I haven't checked out and you can help steer me clear of those. Or maybe you really enjoy them even though they disappointed you. I mean, I still can't help but want people to read Can't Stop Cursing You, yet I can't really recommend it because it just, it leaves you definitely wanting more, because it does not conclude. It is very much open-ended and it's just not terrible. Just not ideal. But yeah, commiserate in the comments. Let me know if any of these series were a disappointment to you, or if you think they were perfect the way they are. You can disagree with me. I am open to opinions of all kinds here on this channel. Just don't be mean about it. And if you really like these type of videos, then please hit the thumbs up button. It lets me know what you want more of, what you enjoyed, so I can hopefully better tailor my content to what you all prefer. Obviously, I'm still gonna make videos I wanna make, and I wanted to make this video because I think it's a shame when such great manga series end up being disappointing. And a lot of times it feels like kind of how Hollywood movies can end up being disappointing when they have a great premise or great actors, or like you think it should be great, but it had meddling from the, you know, up top and executives and stuff. And a lot of mangas could be great, except for they were cut short, canceled, and, you know, interfered with by editors and publishers. And yeah, it's always a disappointing element of entertainment, I think, and it's interesting to recognize and talk about, to me anyway. Plus, I always love showcasing some beautiful covers. Oh my God, feasts for the eyes, all of them. And I will be sharing more beautiful covers with you next Monday. So I hope you subscribe to make sure you're notified when that video drops. And until then, bye!